Welcome to my kitchen. My name is Cheryl Harris and I work at the U.S. Embassy, and today we will be baking a classic American pumpkin pie. Now there are a few things that you need to know about pumpkin pie before we get started. Number one, every American consumes at least one piece of pumpkin pie every Thanksgiving. The reason is the pumpkin is a traditional food from the harvest time in the fall. And so when we do our Thanksgiving celebrations, we always make a Thanksgiving pumpkin pie. No matter what else is on offer around the table, everybody usually has some pumpkin pie. Another thing you need to know about pumpkin pie is that there's a very specific type of pumpkin that one should use when baking a pie. It's a sweet pumpkin. There are lots of pumpkins to choose from, I know here in Slovenia and also in the United States, but when you're choosing a pumpkin for a pumpkin pie, you want to make sure it's a smaller, sweet pumpkin about 8 inches in diameter. You can also use a butternut squash if you don't have pumpkin on hand. First I'll turn my oven on and preheat it to about 375 degrees Fahrenheit, which I estimate is somewhere between 200 and 230. To get started, you will need 1 pie crust, 1 cup of cream, 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree or butternut squash, 2 tablespoons of flour, 1/4 cup of sugar, a teaspoon of cinnamon, and some nutmeg and allspice. Other people also prefer to use cloves and ginger, so it's really what your taste is. 3 eggs. We also have some evaporated milk that you can use in place of the cream and sugar if you prefer. First, you want to take about 1/4 of a cup of cream and heat it on the stove over medium heat with your 2 teaspoons of flour. This is going to eventually, with the heat, form a nice, thick, creamy base for your pumpkin. And you want to apply continuous motion here because that will help the flour to not get clumpy. You can also use a whisk for this. So we want to keep this heated until it comes to a boil and keep stirring it the entire time. Now our mixture has come to a boil and it's thickening very nicely. So we want to pour the rest of the cream in slowly while continuing to stir. Now that I've taken my cream and flour mixture off of the heat, I'm going to put my 3 eggs into my pumpkin mixture. You can also use a mixer for this, of course, but I'm doing it the old-fashioned way. Next, I'm going to add in my sugar, and I like to keep mixing while I'm adding the sugar. And then after that, I'm going to mix in my spices. And the whole thing is starting to smell really good now, with all of the spices and the pumpkin combined. So last but not least, we're going to add our cream mixture directly into the pumpkin mixture. Now everybody likes to make their pumpkin pie exactly to their taste. So some people may also mix in a little bit of maple syrup or some brandy. So next, you're almost ready to put your pumpkin mixture into your pie crust. Now I've made a pie crust in advance and rolled it into the bottom of my pie plate, and I'm just going to finish it off here by making the crust along the edges. So now my pie crust is ready to use. Of course, you can use any pie crust recipe that you prefer, but this particular recipe that I've used has plenty of the good stuff, butter, and also has an egg included in it because I find that it makes it easier not to bake the crust in advance. So I can pour my pumpkin puree directly into the crust and it all bakes together and I think becomes very flaky and delicious. But it depends on what type of pie crust recipe you use. You may need to pre-bake it first. So now we're ready to put our pie into the oven. And you want to let it bake for about 45 to 50 minutes. And I keep an eye on the top of the pie to make sure that it's not cooking faster than the inside. And what you can also do is put some aluminum foil around the outside of the crust if you like to make sure that your crust is extra chewy. You'll know it's done when the crust is slightly browned and the middle is just almost set. We need to let it cool for a good hour or so before we cut into it to make sure that it sets all the way. Perfect Thanksgiving pumpkin pie. Thanks for joining me.